There are new disturbing revelations in this felony pedo case involving the executive director of Israel's cybersecurity directorate, and almost no one in mainstream media is talking about. So if you've never heard about this, just know an Israeli official handpicked by Netanyahu got caught in a sting operation that caught several pedos using a computer to solicit sex from minors. Guys, this is a huge story. Every mainstream media outlet should be covering it, especially after the revelations that came out recently. For example, Israel came out and said that Tom was not arrested, but instead detained, and that he returned to Israel on a scheduled date, leaving out some important facts. Tom was not detained. He was in fact arrested and given a $10,000 bail bond. There is a significant difference between detained and arrested, especially when you are given bail and released on bail, because that usually means you have a court date. And Tom does have a court date in a week, and yet was still allowed to return back to Israel. So the logical question in a felony case involving soliciting sex from a minor would be, which federal official do we hold accountable for allowing this man to post bail while leaving the country as a flight risk? Well, actually, it wasn't a federal judge that made that decision. It was a district judge, Barbara Shafalaqua, who allowed him to post bail and leave the country. Yeah, some of y'all are somewhat confused. Your confusion is justified, because why the hell would a district judge be making that decision? Enter Israeli-born U.S. Attorney of Nevada, Chattah.
I'm Chattah, an Israeli-born lawyer running to be America's #1 conservative attorney general.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that right. Israeli-born. I'm sure there's no conflict of interest there. Chattah's office put out a statement last week saying that Alexandrovich was arrested in Nevada Internet Crimes Against Children Joint Operation. He was booked into the Henderson Detention Center. This important multi-agency operation that targeted child sex predators who preyed upon the most vulnerable members of our community. And as a result of the operation, the Clark County District Attorney's Office is handling the prosecution. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, somehow, in a statement, Chattah puts out acknowledging that all of these federal agencies were involved in an operation that led to felony charges. And her conclusion was, so we're gonna kick this shit down to the DA's office. Now, a U.S. attorney would only kick a case down to the DA's office if it was non-federal, non-felonious, wasn't a big deal, or sometimes with resource constraints. Now, this case obviously doesn't fall into any of those categories, and to conduct an operation like this, the U.S. attorney would have to be involved. In other words, this should have never been kicked down, and Chattah is even aware of this. Because when people put two and two together and started calling her out on X, literally yesterday on August 19th, Chattah deleted her personal X account. But we shouldn't at all be surprised at the way she mishandled this case, considering that over 100 judges, in a bipartisan effort, guys, came together to say that she was unfit for office just 3 weeks ago. And the sting operation happened 2 weeks ago. 116 judges said that she was unfit for office, and then she literally goes on to prove them correct. And no one in the mainstream media thinks this is a big deal. Better yet, no one in the federal government, no one in the Department of Justice thinks that this is a miscarriage of justice. Do y'all really in your heart and soul believe that Tom Alexandrovich is going to return to the U.S. in a week to appear in court for a case where he will undoubtedly be found guilty? Fuck no, he ain't coming back. And that's exactly why Chattah kicked this down to the districts. She wanted to be as far away from the decision-making process involving this case as possible, because she knows she would have to prosecute an Israeli official. And we know Zionists don't like holding each other accountable. That's a no-no in the Zionist community. So yet again, another pedo gets to flee from the United States mid-investigation and hide out in Israel. And the Israeli government is making excuses and lying on their behalf to protect them. Interesting to know that the Israeli government not only protects civilian pedos, but they even hire them to some of the highest positions in the land and keeps them in that position even after they get discovered. And no one in the mainstream media or the Trump administration believes that this is worthy of discussing. Looks like the Epstein political class strikes once again.